possessive adjectives, possessive nouns, and questions with whose.
Possessive adjectives are similar to personal pronouns in that they have distinct forms for what we call person, first person, second person, third person. They have different forms for singular and plural, and in third person singular, in English we distinguish masculine, feminine, and neuter. So they are similar to pronouns. However, we call them adjectives because they must be used with a noun. That is, they cannot be used alone. The personal pronouns like I, you use alone. I like English, or she. She is my friend. But the possessive adjectives need to be used with a noun. So you cannot say my like English. No, you have to say my friend, my brother, something like that. You need my and a noun. Her, no. You need her friend, her sister, her cousin, her daughter, her son. So we call them possessive adjectives because they are used with nouns. There are different ways to show relationships between nouns, but one way to show these relationships or connections is by using what we call the possessive suffix with the noun, especially if we're referring to a human or an animate reference there. When the word that we are using is singular, or if it's an irregular plural, when we are writing, we put an apostrophe and an S. Anna's book, Tom's car, the girl's pen, the children's toys. Now that's in writing. In speaking, we add another sound and in a few cases another syllable. And this suffix is sometimes pronounced s and sometimes pronounced z, depending on the last sound of the word we attach it to. If the noun is a regular plural, that is, if it's plural that ends in s, then we put the plural s followed by an apostrophe to indicate possession, what we call possessive. So the boy's bicycle. Here boys with the s apostrophe means plural boys. And so the bicycles belong to different boys. The student's homework with s apostrophe, the s apostrophe means it's plural students with the possessive, the student's homework. With inanimate objects, we often use a periphrastic phrase with the preposition of to indicate these relationships or connections. So, for example, the front of the store would be much more common than saying the store's front. The end of the concert would be more common than saying the concert's end. So with these possessives, we have a tendency to use the suffix, either the apostrophe s or s apostrophe, when referring to humans or animate beings, living beings. And when referring to inanimate objects, the preference is often to use a phrase with of. When using information questions with whose, sometimes the order of the question is different than the order of the answer. So on this slide you can see that in the question we get whose plus the thing being referred to, book in this case. Whose book is this? In the answer we begin with this, then we get is, and then we get the missing information, Raul's book. So here is an example where the question word order is distinct from the answer word order. This doesn't always happen, it depends. And one of the factors to keep in mind is if you look where in the other examples of information questions, WH questions, we often simply had a WH word in that initial position in the question. But because this is referring to the possessive, we need the WH word whose, and then we need another word to go with it. What we're looking for in these cases is the person or thing that possesses the book. Here we have another example of an information question, but here the order of the question is the same as the order of the answer. So here we get whose book is on the floor, and then the answer we get Tada's book is on the floor. So here we have an example where the word order of the question and the answer are not distinct. Whether or not the order of the question is different than the answer will depend to some extent on the preference of the person who answers the question. It will also depend to some extent on whether or not the answer can go in the subject position, or if it is preferred to put the answer in the position after the verb. In the example answer where I have the word taras, instead of tara, you could also use one of the possessive adjectives. So a possible answer would be my book is on the floor, or his book is on the floor, or her book is on the floor. So where we get that possessive noun form taras, you could possibly get a possessive adjective if the person who is who's being spoken to would understand the referent. If the person would understand her book, who her refers to. Finally, it should be noted that the question word whose almost always refers to humans or possibly animate things such as pets, dogs and cats. Whose rarely is used to refer to inanimate objects. And I say rarely because you will find a few instances where it may happen. But in general, whose is used with humans and to a lesser extent with animate things such as animals, especially pets.
Bye.